Greetings, Sean, the Feral Witch of the Wilds. Today's topic really isn't about witchcraft. It's about making content and talking about things that I have learned in just the brief time that I've had since I started this channel. The learning curve has been very steep. Some of these things I look back on and think, how could I miss that? That's so obvious. Well, I did miss it. And it caused me some headaches and stress. So, today's topic, things I've learned about creating videos that might help others. So, right off, there's a whole lot to do before you click that publish channel button on YouTube. I clicked it way too soon. I would say that before you ever do that, you really need to shoot some videos, watch them, learn about what you need to do to improve. You may find that your technology isn't quite up to what you need it. That can be, sometimes it's a matter of changing where you're going to be doing videos. Other times it's going to be trying to figure out how you're going to afford to do that. Because one thing about when you're starting a channel, if you've got low quality videos right from the start, that's going to flavor people's perception of your channel. So, excuse me, I seem to have some cat hair dangling down from my hat. One thing you need to have is quality camera setup. Does not have to be professional grade, but it needs to be clear. Doesn't have to be brand new. What I'm using here is a 15-year-old Canon HG10 that I bought new actually for documenting testing of my primary samples during my master's research for my civil engineering master's. So it got used, and then it actually sat and gathered dust for most of a decade. It should be on a tripod. Now, depending on where you're doing your videos, that might be just a little desktop tripod. For me, since I'm out here in the outdoors, I have a full-size tripod, extendable legs, so you can adjust to get things reasonably level. How level you need it and everything's going to depend on the ball head that you have on top of the tripod. That's what actually is going to screw in and connect to your camera. And depending on what type of, you can have stuff that just screws in direct that you have to screw and unscrew the camera each time. You can also have a ball head that has a clamp have a mounting plate that is affixed to the bottom of the camera that you just leave there. That's the setup I have. So for that tripod, carbon fiber is great. I mean, it damps out the vibration, something wonderful. It's lightweight. It is also kind of insanely expensive, but they work fantastic. That's what I'm using. But I also shoot semi-pro photography, so I'm using some of my professional grade equipment to do this. I would not recommend buying a set of carbon fiber legs, tripod legs, at the start, simply because it is quite an investment. And I would recommend finding out for sure whether you want to continue doing this and how much money you want to invest in being able to do it. So wood actually is an excellent material for making tripods. Wood naturally, because of the fiber structure and all, damps out vibration. Metal, oftentimes aluminum, is one of the most common ones you see out there, but it also transmits vibration very, very well. So it's kind of, if you're trying to shoot videos in a high vibration environment, you could be transmitting a lot of that vibration up through into your camera, which is going to, even if it's very minute vibration going on all the time, it'll make things a little fuzzy. So a clip-on microphone is best, and if you're doing it outdoors, really kind of needed. I initially tried to do these without a clip-on microphone, just using the microphone on the camera. It took very little wind to where you heard the wind, you didn't hear me. It was picking up every neighbor that drove by very loudly. So you'll still hear some of the cars and everything with a clip-on mic that I've got right here, but you won't hear it as loud. So I'll have a little bit more to say on mics coming up. So make sure you can get your videos into a YouTube appropriate format. What this camera shoots is not in the least bit appropriate for YouTube, which means I have to shoot the video, then I move it over to my computer and I have to do a conversion on that thing. I am using WonderFox software, their HD video converter. I already had it for another project, and it turns out it does everything I've needed so far, and was less than $100 for a license, and not an annual renewal subscription license, but just here's your license. So I seem to recall it was maybe $70 when I bought the package that had that. I'm not sure on that price tag, but I know plenty of people, I mean, $70 would be pretty significant outlay. Hate to tell you, but your cell phone camera might not work too well for these. Kind of depends on what vintage of cell phone. I would say the cell phone I have now is the first one that could be good enough to do this. But everything prior to that, no, the camera wasn't even remotely good enough to do a decent video. Find out how much time is needed to do any conversions you need to do. Turns out my system takes 4 to 4.5 minutes for every minute of video. So a 15-minute video will take over an hour to do the conversion. Yikes. Which means that I think I was at about hour 20 for my occulty conversation video. And that took over 5 hours of my computer working away to convert that over to the WebM, WEBM format that I'm uploading to YouTube. And basically, I chose that format because the WonderFox software had it labeled as compatible with YouTube. There might be something that's better. I don't know. I really suggest making an outline of what you want to talk about. Sure, I mean, constantly looking down at your clipboard and everything might seem odd. If you can have a reader board, great, good for you. Especially if you're indoors, you might be able to do a whiteboard, something that's gives you some room and height, and if it's mounted there next to the camera, so you can look at the camera and you can read down it, and you just write down your outline on that. That would be fantastic. I'm not really conducive to doing that with where I'm at. So I'm doing on the clipboard for my notes. And one key thing about doing that outline, one, it helps you cover the topics that you want to cover, keeps you on track to cover those, and just helps with the flow. So absolutely watch your videos before posting. I have had issues with the wind noise I've mentioned, background noises, microphone not working because the cable was somehow the wrong cable. Both 3.5 millimeter RCA jacks at both ends, and the instructions graphic showed a straight cable. Well, it turns out that actually that's for some other weird deal, and the one that I needed to be using had a spring coil built into it, which was not shown in the instructions, so I figured that this one was for something else. But no, actually, and I shot a couple videos that I thought were really good with the flow, and when I checked them, there was absolutely no audio. But I looked really animated, like I was having an absolute blast. Yeah. Watch where you put the microphone. I tried putting the microphone right here on my shirt, and well, I have a bit of asthma due to on-the-job exposure to air toxics, and that microphone was picking up a bit of the wheezing in my lungs, and I swear I sounded like a generally evil gentleman that dresses in black at a well-known space opera adventure series. So, sounded like Darth Vader. I decided to redo those videos. So, speaking of which, let's see, and also noise from the camera's internal hard drive. That's probably more a factor for something like what I'm using, because this was this HG10 was the first Canon camera, video camera, that actually had an internal hard drive, and it's an old style hard drive with a plate spinning around and everything. And under the right conditions, the microphone will actually pick up the sound of the hard drive, which it was doing, and it was very distracting. More modern cameras are more likely to have solid state drives or use flash memory, and those aren't going to have the noise pickup problem there. To give you an idea of how old this camera is, you can still find the specs on Canon's site, but the first thing you have to do is go to their camera museum area. Yeah, it's a museum piece from their viewpoint. So you're probably going to have to redo videos. In fact, I guarantee you're going to have to redo videos. Don't stress it. It's part of doing this. And the thing is, look at why you needed to redo it. Learn from it. So, as I put it, it's okay to make mistakes. Just don't keep making the same mistake over and over again. Make new mistakes. So, be really realistic on the frequency you can post. Take a look. What's your work schedule if you're working? What are the demands on your time? For me, I work full-time, 40 hours a week, is full-time in the U.S. I've got 4 horses I take care of. They're currently in home care. I've got a hobby farm. This property is not the easiest laid out for taking care of it. Very little of it is flat. There's areas where if I put my tractor crosswise on the hill, I'd roll it. I've got to go pretty much straight up and down it with a slightly off center and all, and that's what I have to do. So I have a tremendous amount of time vested there. I already was only typically getting 6 to 7 hours of sleep a night, and trying to add in weekly videos, or even I had this weird idea of go for a minimum weekly and maybe bi-weekly. No, with everything else that was needed in post-production and pre-production, that just was completely unrealistic. So don't let the channel take over your life, and don't let the channel replace your practice or other important parts of your life. It's just a YouTube channel. That's all it is. It's not real life. So don't stress it. So keep a log of what you post, when you posted it, the topic discussed, and what's the file name on your computer so you can easily find it. If you have the exact file name, then if you forget where did I put that thing, you can use a search feature and find it that way. Do an intro video and update it periodically as appropriate. You might shift your focus for the channel. Okay, if you're doing that, update your intro. It's also your chance to show viewers what you can do, so let it reflect how you improve. I just did a take 2 on my intro video that I think is probably going to be a lot better than the first one I did. This is still currently up there as of right now, but will be changed out within probably 24 hours or so. My plan is to do more on this topic as I learn additional material, to just, it's kind of, here's the mistakes I made, here's what I've learned, and make your own mistakes. We all make it as part of the learning process, but part of the learning process is also learn what you can from people that went ahead, so you can have fun making new mistakes. So that's all it is on this topic for now. So this ends part 1 of things I've learned about creating videos that might help others. Hope you have a fantastic day.